2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Today, we discuss Miro. Listen, when it comes to running client workshops, the dream, of course, is to get those creative juices flowing, right? But typically what ends up happening is thousands of hours get wasted because of poorly facilitated meetings. So I have Maya with me today. She's a consultant who runs Fortune 100 workshops, from leadership training to team building, and she has the insider tip on what makes things work. Maya?
Thank you, Jason. I've been doing this a long time. My number one tip is to bring everyone into that visual collaboration platform. So personally, I use Miro, and it's completely changed how I interact with the room. You have to give people a way to feel like they're in the room even when they're not. That's something you can do easily in Miro. Otherwise, they've seen the same slides and format 1,000 times.
Falling asleep, eyes glazing over, yawns, all that.
Exactly. When people follow me on the Miro board, everyone is literally going on a journey with me. We're adding thoughts, we're reacting, and we're voting for the best ideas. It's great.
Connective magic. I like it. That's MIRO.com.
When we got down on our knees and we asked her to marry us, and she said no. You'd feel awful. You know, do you want to lose, David? No. Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose. Plain and simple. I want players that I know when the game is over, they are crawling into the locker room and they need help getting their gear off. And it's going to take them time to get in the shower. I want the buses to be late to the airport if we travel. We all handle defeat differently, and it's hard. And it's hard.
Folds. Turning my microphone volume up for you guys because you couldn't hear that.
I'm a sore loser.
I am a sore loser. Panthers have lost now 4 straight. Today's loss comes at the hands of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 24-17, where Cam Newton threw 4 picks and was off. This game was Cam Newton's worst of the season. Carolina Panthers were still around, surprisingly, with some opportunities to win late, and it did not happen. We're here with you, Panther Nation, to get through this loss together. My name's Tony Dunn. I'm the host of the C3 Panthers podcast, here tonight with Joe Riolano, Sleepy Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I would be doing a lot better if we were doing this show after a win, that's for sure. Well, let's put on our big boy pants and talk about next season.
Cody Lashney in the house producing the show. Thank you, Cody, for joining us in this morning moment. And when I say morning, I mean the MOURN type of morning moment. Cody Lashney, welcome to the post-game show.
Happy to be here no matter what, win, lose, or draw. C3 podcast, we do our thing. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I've already made my peace, man. After we lost to Seattle, I felt like that was what our season needed the most. So I'm not really even surprised. It was just as soon as our defense starts to play well, then our offense goes to crap, and vice versa. There's a lot of bad, but I don't know. I guess ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's talk about it.
All right. The number is 252-228-5098, where you can join the C3 post-game show. The Panthers fall in epic fashion. It's just a total collapse today. Cam Newton really struggled throwing 4 picks. Let's go ahead and cue that up, Cody. Cam Newton on the day was 28 of 41 with 300 yards and 2 TDs, but the interceptions today proved to be too much for the Panthers to overcome. While the defense struggled early in this game, Carolina's offense just was up and down, and the most up and down of those was Cam Newton. Throwing here in the worst, I think his worst throw of the season so far was that I think that might have been the second interception of the day.
Yes.
So it's tough. It was tough, guys, and I'm going to turn it over to Joey to start. Is Cam Newton has really been one of the main positive components of this year's season, the constant, the steady. And he even said last week he's playing his best season of football, and today was among the worst games of his career, arguably.
Yeah, this was really bad. Surprisingly bad, considering how well he has played all season long. For me, I feel like he tried to do too much today. Like, he took it upon himself to try to make things happen. That second pick, the one that Cody showed there, he stared the guy down the whole time. I mean, it was completely obvious where the ball was going.
I think strangely on that play, Joey, he actually read the defense right, and the defensive player didn't take the right guy and kind of
right. He didn't go to get McCaffrey in the flat. He stayed on the slant, which was a great defensive play, but Cam's got go with, and that's a mistake Cam Newton should not make. Frankly, he's had the type of year where you don't expect him to make that throw. I gotta be honest, guys, another problem I think is the number of attempts Cam has, 41. Now, maybe that's because, we're trying to play catch up. But that number of attempts just seems unusually high. It seems like it's too many pass attempts. Again, maybe that's just because we had to put the ball in the air to try and, get back to a tie.
Yeah, when nothing's working for you and when nothing's going right, is that it does throw the balance of the game off. Cody, a lot of chat in the chat room among people who are saying, look, this is an indication that Cam Newton's shoulder is hurt and that you see him not able this season really to connect that deep, right? Is that the deep ball just hasn't been there for him. We have defended it, saying it just hasn't been the type of offense that they've been calling. But today, a windy day in Tampa Bay, and Cam Newton throwing a lot, could have seen some fatigue showing late in the season with that shoulder. Definitely didn't look like he had the same zip that we're accustomed to seeing on the football.
When you're putting in Taylor Heineke at the end of the game to throw the ball deep into the end zone over Cam Newton, there's a problem. And there was even a play earlier in the football game. It was that read option, and Cam kept the ball after the defensive end crashed down, and he just went to slide, and it reminded me of that exact play against the Chargers in 2016 when he hurt that shoulder again, and he got up wincing. Yeah, listen, today was a bad game from Cam Newton, and there are people that call me a Cam Newton apologist, and I make excuses for him, and I'm not making excuses for anyone. What I am saying is that people. I love the draft. I love college football. I love evaluating talent and players. And everyone sends me messages, and they're like, it has to be defensive line, defensive line, defensive line. We have to draft 3 or 4. We need a dominant pass rush. But what people are just now starting to see is that we have a bad offensive line. And we have a kind of a makeshift offensive line that isn't giving Cam enough time to throw the football. On one of those interceptions, and the ones I'm talking about we don't have pulled up right now, but he had no time to step into the throw, so that's why the ball didn't make it as far as it needed to be. And then another one was tipped. I don't blame Cam Newton for trying to make plays, for trying to push the ball down the field, but then there's that first interception that we showed. Every once in a while, there is a play in the season where Cam Newton just doesn't see the defender floating underneath, and he pays for it. Listen, it was a bad performance. It was a bad performance. There's nothing else to say. To Carl D in the chat, he says the O-line has been doing good. I beg to differ. Every single game, even if he's not being sacked, the defensive line is always right in his face. They're able to push our offensive linemen back, and
they have been adequate though this season. But Jeff Sand on Facebook echoing your sentiments, Cody, saying blame the offensive line, not giving the time for Cam Newton, and I don't. And I'm not. I think that out of all the problems that we expected or were willing to accept this season, I guess, is that we thought that the offensive line was going to be at the top of those, and it hasn't. Is that while what I would say is what you're pointing to when it comes to draft. I do wholly agree, Cody, that you are not going to be able to just go 7 picks on defense for people who want to do that. You're really going to have to invest this entire draft, I think, in linemen. Offensive and defensive. What you saw today is that you saw Ryan Khalil at the end of his career. You saw Chris Clark, who was called at home eating a bag of potato chips in like week 5 or week 4, and he has started all season and played admirably, I think. But at the same time, the whole component that we're talking about here is that this is not sustainable. There's 3 positions on that line that if you don't you may need starters. And at the very least, you need 2 starters and 1 rotational player. So this is going to be very difficult going forward. But I mean, while the offensive line was not at its best today and gave up some of the most sacks probably it did all season, Cam Newton was also at his worst today. A lot of people calling for this. Shut Cam Newton down, put him on IR, and save him. Spare him from more damage that could be caused by more hits, like you mentioned in that 2016 season. Joey, I'll turn it over to you, and then we're going to get into the calls. How do you feel about the Panthers shutting down Cam Newton for the remainder of the season?
I am in 100% agreement with that sentiment. I think that is the best possible thing they could do for the organization and for Cam. No need in having him finish out the year when we know as fans and they know within the organization this team isn't going anywhere. Shut him down.
What is so amazing to me is we're sitting at 500 after a 6-2 season, where a performance in week maybe 5, maybe the last time we won. Who was the last team we beat? Baltimore.
I'd have to look at the schedule. I want to say,
That's crazy. We were after the dominant performance over Baltimore. We were so hopeful going into this season, what this season could become. While we watched the Saints just descend, at the same time we thought we were strong contenders for that wild card spot at 6-2. Now we sit at 500 at 6-6, and we're realistically talking about shutting down our starting quarterback for the season because what the writing is on the wall. What a fall from grace that is for the Panthers. Like I said, this is collapse at its fullest. Let's go ahead and jump into the cat calls we want to continue to make sure that the fans are the driver of this show. The number is 252-228-5098. I encourage you to smash the thumbs up button. If you're watching on YouTube, turn your phone to portrait mode, hit that thumbs up button. It doesn't cost you a thing. If you're watching on Facebook, share this video in a Panthers group. What we want to continue to do is build the strongest and most interactive Panthers fan podcast out there. And we do that by letting you continue to drive the show. And here's our first call of the day.
What's going on, guys?
Here's Brother Herbert.
Black Cat, Brother Herbert. And we just lost to the Buccaneers. All we can do is laugh about this. This was hilarious. But I tell you what, the one good thing is, because if anybody has heard David Kemper's recent interview, he might, Ron Rivera might not make it after this week. So that's a good thing. What can we say? Cam Newton. Defend it all you want, Tony. Defend it all you want. Cody or whoever else wants to defend it. Those were egregious picks. It was bad. It was horrible. And I just don't know, like I really, really just don't know. It's we just lost to the Bucs, guys. Like, we suck. We're not gonna make the playoffs. And while we're there, you realize the Bucs top 3 quarterbacks, which they sucked, by the way, but still did not make it. They didn't. The top 3 quarterbacks didn't play, and he throws almost 5 picks. Should have been 5 picks. Like, I just don't get it. But we're not a playoff team. That's the good news, guys. We'll probably have a good pick where we can actually draft some, rushers and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, might as well look at it as a positive, because Ron Rivera is most definitely, I believe that he's not going to make it past to the end of the season. So, hey, let's go. Like, what can we do?
All right.
So anyway, guys, I'm actually not in a bad mood at all. This is just funny.
All right, you're getting booted on that right there. Brother Herbert, not above pettiness, saying don't defend Cam Newton, you dang Cam Newton defenders. Now, I did see somewhere in the YouTube chat earlier because of this is that that they were the positive to this is that this really kind of just puts a nail in the coffin to the Panthers season in a way that does allow us to really make it a determination of what we wanted to continue to do going forward. Is that now the playoffs are out of sight, likely it seems, and the loss it's been such a deflating 4 games. Is that today reports emerged confirming what we have been suspicious of, is that if this continued collapse occurred, that Ron Rivera, that David Tepper would be more and more interested and has been consulting advice about how to approach this. Cody, do you think this right here today, wow, this loss to me was a lot on Cam? I think that one of the things I highlighted is there was a 3rd down conversion where Cam was sacked, and it was after the timeout. This was in the 4th quarter. We had to call a timeout as the clock ran down. We go in there and you're thinking 4 minutes left. This is a fourth quarter. A 4 down. You're in 4 down territory. We did end up going for it on 4th and 10, but the clock ran down all the way to 0 where JPP was able to jump the snap because it was going to be either snapped at the last second or a delay of game. And I think, how did Cam come out of that timeout and was not able to get this team lined up quick enough to where at least you have 3 seconds if you just keep the defense guessing just a hair about when you're going to snap the ball. So Cam Newton with an awful game, his awful performance of the year. Do you think that Cam Newton's performance contributes to Ron Rivera being outed in Carolina, Cody?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to add a little tidbit that I just found, and I think everybody listening will find it to be very telling. So this is at the press conference, and I haven't heard this. I'm just reading it on Twitter. Jordan Rodriguez asked Ron Rivera about the CBS report, and he says unless David Tepper says it publicly, he's not going to talk about job security. She then followed up and asked if he's concerned about his job security, and he said, do not ask that question again. So listen, it's apparent to everyone now. It's apparent to our reporters. It's apparent to, I think, even people inside the organization at this point in time. Listen, 2 things can be true at once. And people need to understand this about Cam Newton. Am I a Cam Newton defender? Yes, absolutely I am. And I will be until the day that I die. And I don't give a damn if anyone likes it or not. But this is what I will say. 2 things can be true at the same time. Cam Newton did not have a good game. He did not have a good game. But this is what's happened. Cam Newton has been the only shining star on this Panthers offense, maybe outside of Greg Olsen, for such a long time that you're so used to him absolutely turning it on and making absolute magic happen that when he doesn't, you put all the blame on him. And I'm saying that's unfair. Did he have a bad day today? Absolutely. And no one on this show, no one anywhere is going to say that Cam Newton didn't have a bad day. Okay, that's apparent. But at the same time, I'm positive that Cam Newton is hurt, that he's injured. That's why we're asking each other, do we shut him down for the season? And we're also, we have a bad offensive line. And when you're forced to throw the football under pressure all the time, then it leads to problems. So, yeah, I honestly do think Ron Rivera is on his way to being fired before the season even ends. I honestly believe that Ron Rivera might be out sooner than later.
Here's our next call.
Hey, Panther Podcast. This is G. Cavassier.
G?
Lost the damn game. Couldn't believe it. It came through 4 damn interceptions. I don't understand. After the third one, I would have pulled him if I was damn wrong. And now, breaking news. I am officially on the fire the Ron Rivera train. I'm done with him, man. I am done with him. There's no way in hell Jason Pierre-Paul is getting the Cam damn near the whole entire game. You mean to tell me you couldn't get somebody to double him? Nothing at all? I don't understand. And I was fooled by the defense. I really was. But the defense was playing good. And then 3rd and long, they was killing us the whole damn game. I mean, I really don't get it. But I'm officially on the fire Ron Rivera train and Eric Washington. Now, this is just me. It's still early. But it's my opinion. If Marvin Lewis gets let go from the Cincinnati Bengals, bring him to Carolina to be the defensive coordinator. Not the head coach, the defensive coordinator. Bring his ass to Carolina. And we need a new damn coach because Ron Rivera, he lost the damn team. Just admit it. But we 6-6. It looks kind of dreary. But, hey, I'm still pounding with my boy. So, remember, keep pounding, baby.
All right, G. Cavassier, thanks for calling in the C3 Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098. And it looks like, even when the questions about Ron Rivera's job security are floating into the post-game show, things are serious. And finally, we saw this we saw today again that the Panthers have been atrocious on 3rd down. They have not been able to get off the field, but the defense did, after surrendering 4 turnovers, the defense did hold this Tampa Bay team, to 24 points, which is admirable in its own right. But today, Joe Person reported, this was in the third quarter, that Ron Rivera appears to have taken over the play calling for Eric Washington today. We knew that something to this effect was going to come. This is something visually you can do to show that you are trying to right the ship. So more evidence that Ron Rivera and the Panthers are just imploding even at the top. And I would prefer, I think, Todd Bowles over Marvin Lewis personally when it comes to defense. But I think what you're going to need to do is, if you do fire Ron Rivera, let's turn this over. Joey, we were talking about this before or early in this game as things started out poorly for the Panthers, that we were talking about, hey, is that if Ron does get fired, that this is the question is, or do you keep Ron and do you fire Marty Herney in an effort to keep Norv Turner? And I'm starting more and more to think that if you make any moves at all, it's a complete and wholesale change, not because one person, not because Norv hasn't done well, not even because Ron isn't even just a decent to good coach. But if you are going to change, make a distinct change rather than Band-Aid type change. Joey, do you think Ron Rivera lasts beyond the season after today? Are we overreacting, or do you think Tepper is truly interested in changing the culture in Carolina?
Oh, I really have to feel no matter what he does, there's no way he keeps his job at this point. I think Tepper probably has seen enough. Honestly, guys, I'm forward to not win the game today. I really expected us to go down and pull out the W. I mean, really. And the fact that we didn't is evidence enough that we have fallen. The team is lost. Somewhere we lost our way. And it's been 4 weeks that the coaching staff has had to get everything back in order. But we're still jumping off times. We're still having false starts. And that kind of lack of discipline, lack of focus for 4 weeks in a row, and that comes down to coaching. You have to have the guys ready, and it's 4 weeks in a row now that we've seen the coaches can't get the guys motivated. Can't get them motivated, can't keep them focused, and at this point, I think Ron is gone. I'm curious because I feel like Tepper will let him play out the season. But Tony, you brought up a good point earlier when I mentioned this. You said if Tepper fires him now, he'll get a jump or a head start on looking for start that search for talent. But as you mentioned that, you said at the same time, let Herney go so we can find a new GM who would come in and be part of the search for the head coach.
Cody, I'm going to turn it over to you on this comment, and because I've got something to still say on this, is that Jeff Sand on Facebook says, guys, how shocked would you be to wake up Monday morning and hear Ron Rivera was fired? At the point, which is strange, this is so crazy that we are really truly having this conversation with the winning, probably the most successful coach in Panthers history, who started out 6-2 this season. But it shows you the type of collapse here. What do you see the benefits of? Do you see the Panthers firing Ron Rivera before the end of the season now? Not only just talking about firing him, but could you see the benefits and the positives in doing that?
Yeah, I really do. And listen, it's time to do it, man. And we've said this before. We said this on the show. If everyone's been, following us, which of course they have, we have some diehards. But we've been saying that it's not like Ron Rivera is a bad head coach, but he has done for us all that he is able to do. And I'm sorry, yeah, it's players haven't been making plays on both sides of the football when it matters the most, but that's on coaching. When you're a head coach, you're paid to do one job, and that's make sure that your guys are ready and prepared. So, Tony, for example, you mentioned, when they weren't hurrying up and they were taking so much time to get back to the football. You have to practice that. You have to be in those scenarios, and your coach dictates what different types of scenarios you're going to be going through throughout the course of your practice week. So, yeah, it's 100% on coaching. Listen, I don't dislike Ron Rivera, the man. I think he's a man of incredible integrity. He's been a great locker room guy. But it's time, man. And another thing that I don't want to let leave, I'm sure we can get to it down the road, but today you may have seen Greg Olsen play his final snap of football ever. And I want that to sink into everyone, because one of the things I do want to mention is that this organization, I genuinely feel, has wasted some of the primes of some incredibly talented football players. And the next time Steve Smith, absolutely, man. There have been so many good ones, and we still have Cam. Now we're wondering about how healthy Cam's shoulder is. It's a problem. Ron Rivera, we need to pull the Band-Aid off now.
All right, so here is that we're going to go right back into the cat calls. My position on the coaching staff and what David Tepper should do, and I've really been leaning towards this for several weeks now, as in it's just an either or. You either decide to stick with Marty Herney and Ron Rivera and see where it goes for one more season. But I do think now that this collapse has been so complete that it has ended a lot of those it's continued to undermine some of the sanctity of Ron Rivera being just a better than average coach, right? And that has been, it's almost like, hey, let's stick with what's comfortable and familiar. When you're continuing, you can say, well, there's injuries, there's these other things that have been going on that the defense just hasn't been there for Ron Rivera. The changeover and assistant coaches has been difficult with third consecutive year with a different, essentially a different defensive coordinator. All of those things are true, and I do think Ron Rivera has been able to point those out to you and highlight those in the past, because in November and December, this team has been strong. But this slide has continued, and what I would do, the order of events I would do, is I would fire Marty Herney this week. And then what I would already do is say, look, we have decided that we're going to make courting the best possible option at GM the number one priority of this organization. We're going to already have the inroads done for that by the end of the season, hopefully. Then Ron Rivera, you let him coach to the end, because without a GM there, he knows the writing is on the wall for him. But he can't quit as a head coach on you, because he needs to continue to pad his resume for next year as hopefully an option, maybe for a team like the Bears, who hired John Fox in those years, looking for a coach that's just better than average. So to me, it goes full sail change, starting with a commitment from a GM who has a vision. Whether that is a vision that works out and is better than the Carolina Panthers have done under Ron Rivera, I don't know. But I think half changes are worse than no changes, and full changes come with risk, but also come with reward. The number is 252-228-5098. You can be on the C3 Panthers podcast.
Hey, guys. How you doing, Tony? How you doing, Cody? This is when you know. I'm sorry, but this is when you know it's over. When a big fan just stops caring, a diehard fan. When you just stop caring after we lose the game, like, oh, well. So, Cody, please tell us the draft picks we might be able to get. Please, I want to know. I want to know who you're looking at. Please let us know. Thanks, guys.
Cody, I know you've said Cody, I know you've said repeatedly that you're going to do more and more investing as the draft does approach, but here in a ideal world, we're going to need help on offensive line and defensive line. Give me one player who doesn't play on Clemson. That would be good for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, I mean, see, it depends on our draft order. Right now, if I'm being honest, I kind of do think that we need to address the offensive line effective pronto. And I there's a player, his name escapes me right now. I'm pulling it up.
Is it the Alabama left tackle?
I don't think we're going to be in range enough to pick him. I think he's a top 4 pick. There's a left tackle out of Wisconsin who is really good. He's good against the pass rush, and yeah, honestly, he's been moving higher and higher up the board. So maybe at this point in time,
is it Jeff? Nope. Jeff Hanzik? No.
I'm pulling it up right now. No, his name.
That might be the guy who took the photo. That might be the guy that took the photo, actually. He doesn't have a name. He does not. He's a man that's nameless because I've been trying to find it right here. Red short. Let's start with player
David
Cole
Edwards.
Van.
David Edwards is the guy that I'm thinking of. He's the left tackle out of Wisconsin. And yeah, I mean, he's someone that does good against the run and against the pass rush. And depending on where we draft, it's looking like he might fall to us. There's a few good offensive linemen. There's even a pass rusher named Josh Allen. No, not the quarterback from Buffalo, but there is a pass rusher out of Kentucky who is very fast off the edge. He's a great edge defender. That's another guy that I'm thinking might be in our range. We have a lot of different needs, man. Another one I would love is a nice free safety, someone that can ball hawk the back of the field. If we don't sign Eric Reed, which I'm hoping that we do, but there's a lot of needs on this football team right now. But I want to build up the trenches on offensive line and defensive line.
A lot of people have been talking about Nick Bosa in the chat room, adding in maybe ways replicating what TJ Watt did in Pittsburgh, the brother who continues the legacy. Numbers 252-228-5098.
Yes, Jeremiah out of Swansboro. Can we fucking fire someone yet? I mean,
Burp, burp. We did.
It's getting old. How do you start 6-2 and then drop all these shitty teams? Man, I just don't know. This is killing me here. Panthers for life. Keep pounding, but damn, man, damn.
I hear you.
All right.
Man. It's
Frustration
bad.
continues. Frustration continues to mount in Carolina.
What's up, Panther Nation? This is Jeremy Clancy. Calling in to just throw my 2 cents in because I know we're all a bit sad and whatever, but today the playoffs started for us and we did not show up. So I think Ron Rivera's finally gone. I hate to see him go, but there's no way. This was on coaching. The O-line and Cam, 4 turnovers, they're going to cut it. If we did survive this game, I didn't see us going very much further. But here's to the rest of the season, and I'm looking forward to next year. I was thinking the whole time next year was going to be here with this lineup, but time will tell. Keep pounding.
Gary Rogers on Facebook says, bad day to have a bad game. Cody, tell us about the picture and the image you've put up on Shindig. 2 veterans there in arms, brothers in arms there at the end of this game.
Yeah, I decided to throw this up. I found it on Twitter, and I just feel that it embodies how we're all feeling right now. These are 2 players that decided to come back for a final season. And I know Thomas Davis has been mulling over playing another season. But, I mean, listen, these are 2 guys that felt like we had a chance to win it all this year. And, yeah, this is Matt Khalil Ryan Khalil and Thomas Davis. they're feeling it, man. They've got their heads hung low. They're looking at what might be their final season in the NFL and an entire career without the Super Bowl ring to show for it. And it sucks. And honestly, the image speaks for itself. But I really did want to put that up because I feel like, you know, we talk about these players and the coaches, and we forget that they're people too. They're upset, they're disappointed, and you just have to go out and you just have to feel bad for these players, man. They're putting their bodies on the line for these types of results, and it's bad. You feel for them, man.
All right, pounded through with the cat calls. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hey guys, it's Cody from up here in Roanoke, Virginia. Just walked outside to give you guys a call after that game. That's about it. That's all I got. No, I'm just kidding. You know, it's been just the most inconsistent season I've ever seen in my life. You know, our offense was able to make plays to get down the field, but, you know, then our turnovers, you know, cost us this game. I mean, 4 turnovers. I mean, the fact that we only lost by 1 touchdown is a miracle. And to be fair, one of those touchdowns happened because of that returned interception that came all the way back to the 30-yard line. Those are just killers. I mean, obviously there are some live throws, certainly, but I think also when you look at the, I don't know, from the stats perspective, our O-line has been, you know, I wouldn't say premier, but been one of the better in the league that you're going to see. But I think that a lot of the offensive line deficiencies have been masked by Cam Newton and Norv Turner's ability to get the ball out a lot quicker than, you know, in years past. So I think a lot of the flaws have been covered up by that fact, and that's why the completion rate's so high. It's because they have been quick, you know, hits to the outside, to the inside, slants, things like that. But it was pretty clear to me that there was that there was some issues with timing on this one. I think that our receivers weren't able to get open as quickly as they had in years, you know, in weeks past. And that's why Cam had to force some of those throws. Obviously, the pressure up front had caused, in my opinion, 3 of those interceptions. You know, the other one was just a horrible out route. You know, that was the pickoff the pick that came back from Elliott all the way back to the 30. So, to be quite honest, our defense was the only reason we were in this one, and that's something that we haven't said in a long time. They haven't been able to get turnovers, but they definitely stepped up and got the 3 and outs when we needed them to. So, you know, kudos to them. But, you know, I'm tired of the accolades. I'm tired of the stats. I'm tired of you know, people, you know, even Cam Newton saying this is the best he's ever played. You know, to be fair, it all boils down to is the wins and losses. And obviously we faltered there. The report about Dave Tepper not being satisfied if things don't get better is encouraging to see where the off season takes us. But I think most people are, you know, at the point where we can officially give up on the season and just hope for a you know, effective and efficient off season to where we can get some, you know, some.
All right, I think he's going to jump back in with the second part of that call, but I do want to address some things. He is echoing Cody's sentiment is despite the statistical advantage that maybe that this offensive line has shown from past lines, it is not as good as it looks on paper. Dakota Tumbleston writes on YouTube, Cam in the press conference, our offensive line did good. It was my fault. You can't just throw it up. Cam Newton, though, is that Brandon Herbert then chimes in at this moment to say, to criticize basically that someone who was saying that Cam is clutch. And the thing that I will say is that I believe that if Cam is demonstrating that he is hurting, that has to be factored in here. But Cam Newton has progressed this season in a way that many people believe that he didn't progress. He had a bad game today. He showed
he had some problems today, but in this press conference, I do like that it continued. He's showing development and maturation there. I think that I was thinking here too, though, if Cam Newton could have mounted a touchdown drive to tie it up with 4 minutes left after 4 picks, or even with a 2 minutes left or whatever we had it at the end, that this would really show a mental fortitude and strength that Cam Newton has, that clutch gene. Now, he was not able to manufacture it, but going back to the caller, Joey, the defense did not play as bad as they have played in the past. And I would say that they kind of got screwed a couple of times in this game. The Dante Jackson pass interference call gave the Bucs a touchdown that they didn't deserve, as well as there was every big run that the Bucs had. There was a giant hold on their offensive line. So this defense, while they have been at the heart and the root of problem, they weren't today, I don't believe, Joey.
No, but I think they had their best game of the year. Well, at least their best game in 4 games anyway.
Right.
They were able to put some pressure on the quarterback. They tackled fairly well. We really saw the defense we were expecting all year long. They showed up today. They did enough. They did enough on their end to where if the offense had played their normal football game, we would have come out on top today. And to tell you the truth, I'm not surprised they played as well as they did when I find out that Ron Rivera was doing the play calling.
Cody, today, Vernon Butler, a healthy scratch. And the interior early in this game was a weakness for this team. KK did have a game that was pretty good today. I think F.A. Obata played decently well as a rotational player. And but other than that, it continued to show is that Mario Addison just probably doesn't have it in him to be a 3-down defensive end. And Julius Peppers is old as all get out. But the defense was not here and the problem. But, man, it was tough watching Cam Newton fold after such a good season. Do you truly believe that this was Cam Newton just having a bad game? Or do you really think that there really is a kind of a more serious shoulder problem than we have been led to believe? Not necessarily a season-ending type shoulder problem or surgical repair needed, but it's got to be bothering him, right?
Yeah, it is bothering him, and I think that we kind of glanced over it in the Baltimore game where we had Taylor Heineke come in to throw that pass to Greg Olsen at the end of the half. His shoulder, I feel, is bothering him, and he missed some practice time because of it. I do think that it's definitely bothering him, and listen, and I want to ask you guys' opinion on this, you and Joey, because I know what I believe, and people like Carl D. and Brandon Herbert, they think I'm crazy, and they say we have a competent O-line. And listen, I'm willing to be that old curmudgeon or whatever if people want to say that I'm just defending Cam Newton, and that's why I want both of your opinion. It seems like every Sunday I am watching the offensive line get pushed back right to Cam Newton, and I'm watching our left and right tackle. Not necessarily our right. Taylor Mooton's been okay, but I'm watching our tackles get blown up by speed rushers, and I feel like I see it every single Sunday. So, I don't say that we have a good offensive line or we just need to tackle. I think we have a bad offensive line. I call a spade a spade. So am I crazy or am I crazy? I don't know.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think the offensive line is better than bad. That just sounds crazy. I don't think they're good. I definitely don't think they're good. At least not when we're talking about pass blocking. I don't think they're good. I think they can be effective. I think part of I think somebody said earlier, I think it was the last caller said, the ineffectiveness of the offensive line is somewhat covered by the fact that in your offensive system, the ball comes out quick. I think there is some truth to that. I wouldn't say this is a good offensive line because Cam has, you saw today, Cam was pressured all day long. Most of the time, he was able to get away from it or get the ball out, but there wasn't any point in the game where he was just able to sit back there and look for a receiver. At no point in the game did he do that. I've seen Brady, I've seen Andrew Luck, I've seen other quarterbacks who have good offensive lines just sit there and wait for a receiver to come open. Cam Newton does not have that luxury.
The deal with here's what you just don't need to say. You need to not say that the offensive line is bad. Is that you need to say it's poorly manned, and that the players who are playing better than we would have. I think should be expected of them to play. If you think about this, is that Ryan Khalil is really old, really old. You know, I mean, he's been starting at center for like 12 years probably. So if you are depending upon him to be the most talented, along with the second round draft pick in Taylor Moton, and Trey Turner, I guess, is the only guy that you got that's a talented person on that line. Chris Clark, you should be. My thing that I am not ready to get mad at Chris Clark is we paid a guy $50 million in Matt Khalil to leave the building while this guy got off his couch and has probably played left tackle better than anybody since Michael Orr played that good season in 2015. I put this not just saying that the offensive line is bad. I don't like to, because they're playing out there probably the best that they can do with what they've got. The problem is that this organization has truly not invested anything in the offensive line because it was unnecessary, like we continue to see this year, because Cam Newton is able to mask those deficiencies. And it turns out that Christian McCaffrey only makes it easier to mask those deficiencies, because a lot of time he's getting the ball in traffic there in the middle or a handoff, and you go, this is that man, it's about to be bottled up. And then he shoots out the gap for 10 yards. That wasn't necessarily great blocking, but those guys are able to allow you to get away with it. But to believe that this offensive line was going to be good with the talent that it's got is what we were fooling ourselves probably heading into the season. And again, I think this comes back to probably the most damning evidence of what Ron Rivera and the problems that we have is that he just hasn't realized and made a firm enough stand with the management that this had to be addressed in a more predominant way. And we just completely missed on Matt Khalil.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, in my mind, I'm seeing so much pressure. I will say this, that our offensive line is better at run blocking than it is pass protecting. I think Joey hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, well, we don't have a lot of talent there, and we don't have a lot of talent on the defensive line. And that's the thing, is that we have some important talent on this team. We have some aging talent on this team. And then we have some young talent on this team, but what we aren't is a talented roster just as of yet. I mean, the fact is that DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are our best options at wide receiver. And I'm not trying to dump on them, but a rookie and a guy who didn't play, who's a redshirt freshman, to say that those are the most talented players on your team. Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the bright and shining spot to this offensive line. Here's part 2 of that call.
Cody again from up here in Roanoke, Virginia, guys. Sorry to through all this into 2 calls, but I was going to say, I haven't, me personally, I hadn't jumped on the fire Ron Rivera train. But at this point in time, you think that we would have better clock management, that we would have plays drawn up for that, final 2 minutes, but as much as we've been behind and, the time has caused an issue. But the fact that they haven't addressed those issues yet is just mind-boggling to me. And once again, to kind of touch on the report that David Tepper is becoming, or the ownership group, as they call it, is becoming uncomfortable with where we're at, and believe that we haven't focused on analytics the way that we should. I after that report and after this loss today to the Bucs, it's clear to me that there's no way Ron Rivera keeps his job this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Norv in for offensive coordinator, but I don't know or at least attempted to. I don't know if Norv sticks around if they fire Ron, but here's to hoping. I think he's done the best he can with a makeshift offensive line, if I could speak. I think that's one of our priorities in the offseason is definitely going to be our lines, defensive line and offensive line, getting those things shored up. I think we've got all the pieces that we need, assuming we can get Eric Reed back. And, Mike Adams, I'm not sure how much longer he's got, how much he's got left in the tank,
season.
but seriously, definitely, I think it has some potential back there. Dalton, we'll see how the second year treats him. But anyway, guys, a little early to be talking about that in the post game. I'm going to let you guys go talk about that. And I may try to hit up that shindig thing. I don't know. That was pretty cool. How you guys did that last week.
Do it, man.
So, keep pounding, guys.
All right, yeah.
Talk to you later.
What we like to do is get some people on Tuesday night to join the conversation, particularly now that it's a little bit more relaxed in the news talk, because as the Panthers continue to fall out of contention, that we have a little bit more latitude on where the show can go without, worrying about missing something. So you can check that out. I'll put the link in the show notes on YouTube. It's the Shindig. You get the app and you can join the show and be a live participant in it. It's right from your mobile phone or using your Chrome browser. Cody, is that again? I don't like. I just don't think that Norv would survive if Ron left. But some people have indicated that they would not be surprised to see Ron Rivera fired tomorrow. And that would indicate probably that the only qualified person to be the interim would be Norv Turner. And you mentioned that to me in a text earlier before the game. Do you want that to happen even?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at it. So this is kind of what I wouldn't mind seeing happen. If you fire Ron Rivera, go to Norv Turner and say, listen, you're the interim head coach. And from now until the end of your season, that's a part of your job interview. And at the end of the season, we promise you that whether you lose every game or you win every game, we will let you have a legitimate interview at the end of the season to be the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. I think that's a fair deal. And at the same time, it also doesn't put us in a position where, we're tied to Norv Turner. If it doesn't work out, we can still be looking and courting better options that I do believe are out there. There aren't as many big name coaching hires this year as there have been in some previous years. But as we mentioned last Tuesday, this would be a very prestigious job that would be on the top of the list for a lot of coaches out there. So yeah, personally, that's what I would want. I would like to see Norv Turner be the interim head coach until the end of the season.
All right, we'll keep pounding through those calls. I sure hope that Brother Herbert's not saying that we're up here trying to defend Cam Newton.
Yeah,
because
I don't know,
today's performance, like you're just hearing what you want to hear. Then, if that's what you're hearing, Brother Herbert, because all we've said is that this the worst game of the season, and that this loss is first and foremost on Cam today. Other than that, I don't know what you're talking about. So if you keep saying it over and over, it doesn't make it true. I mean, right. Or else you got to go vote for Donald.
This is DJ and Riley. It's just 4 straight losses.
after being 6-2. It's just sad at this point. And Cam had a bad game today, but I don't put it all on him. A lot of those interceptions were tips. Defense can't stop nobody. Offensive line can't block. I'm done with this season. They still keep pounding, and I'm still a Panther fan, true and true, but this season is a wrap. And I've been one of Coach Ron Rivera's biggest supporters, even when people wanted to fire him after we started 1-3 and we ended up going 12-4. But Coach got to go. Like, this is, at the end of the day, you are the head coach of this team. It falls on you.
Yep.
Coach Ron and that whole coaching staff has to go. David Temper, you got to do something. As always, keep pounding, Panther Nation.
All right. So, this is, I would like for somebody to track down. We got to find this stat before Tuesday is what teams have ever started 6-2 and not made the playoffs. Because you always hear this when a team starts 0-2, excuse me, there is a whatever percentage chance of not making the playoffs. Generally, I'm thinking when you get to 6-2, you got to have a 70% making it. What was the last team that actually does this, right? And so, look, Herbert now is just turned into a Cam hater. This is what we got, is that Brother Herbert isn't settling enough at just being critical at Cam. He's a Cam hater. He's just saying this, is that Cam, essentially you're indicating that Cam Newton's a loser. That's what you're saying by continuing to say this, is that Aaron Rodgers, he lost to the damn Cardinals today. The Cardinals. And if you're going to say this, if he was a great quarterback, he would have won this game. You're going to talk about Cam Newton saying that. Then if Aaron Rodgers was a great quarterback, he would have won against the Cardinals at home. At home, right, man. So look, did Cam have an atrocious game? Yes. But it's clear that he looks like he's injured at this point to a degree. Yes. And this is his first bad game of the season. What do you want to do? Release him and move on? It's just silly talk. And at this point, you're peeing in the wind. All right.
Hi, this is Gordy. I'm upset, but I just don't have nothing to say about that loss today. Oh, my goodness. You know what? From 6-2 to 6-6, ridiculous. I think it is time for Rivera to be gone. It looks like he has lost his team. You see how the calm voice I am doing, Tony? You like that? The calm voice I feel?
This is angry.
I think his call's still angry. Going. I don't know what happened.
That's calm, angry Carl D.
Yeah. I mean, you can't even get upset at this point. I mean, what are you saying is that nobody, if you say it one more time that we're trying to defend Cam Newton, we're going to bounce you from the chat. Good God. I'm getting frustrated at this point is that Cam Newton threw 4 picks today. Okay. We got the point. We got the damn point. So it's time to move on from Cam Newton, I guess. It's time to move on from Cam Newton and go out into free agency, and maybe we can pick up old Fitzmagic. Maybe we could get old Jameis. How about that? Maybe we go get Jameis Winston to go and replace Cam Newton. Who else you want? Who else? It's so frustrating at this point look, everybody's got warts. This was the worst game of Cam Newton of the season for Cam Newton. And in some ways, I almost sat there going, I wonder if Cam Newton wants to get Ron Rivera fired. That's what I was thinking at this time, is that Cam Newton. But look, fooling yourself if that's the first place you're going to look to remedy the problems in the future, right? To remedy the problems in the future is that you don't have a commodity that is as valuable at Cam Newton anywhere. When it comes down to look, actually, we'll go to Cody. I know that you're probably typing something out, so I'm gonna give you a second to finish that. But you're a big, your guy. And I always want to call him Deshaun Watson, but it's Deshaun Jackson, not whatever they got, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Is that look at how long it's going to take if you got a Peterman, a Goff, or what about the number one pick in the Jets quarterback? These guys are going to take time to develop. You've seen Cam Newton throw over 70% of the passes today. It was the worst game. He only had 7 interceptions on the season going in this game. He still only has 11 interceptions on the year after this game. What is the problem with saying Cam Newton had a bad game today, but not saying he's a trash quarterback?
And by the way, he threw 4 interceptions today. This is only the second time he's ever done that in his career, other than his rookie season in the NFL. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger can't say that. I've seen him throw 4 or 5 in the season. Listen, if you think that there's a better quarterback that you're going to bring in than Cam Newton to run this team, after not only he routinely makes plays, but he's also been our leading rusher on the football team for how many years now? I mean, come on. Cam Newton has been the beginning, middle, and end of this offense. And now when he has a bad game, now everyone wants to dump on him. I'm not going to lie. That really frustrates me, man. It really upsets me. And you're not going to draft a quarterback right away and just have them be ready to go. It takes time. And I guarantee you, to every Cam Newton hater that's a fan of the Panthers, you don't want us to draft another quarterback because you're not ready for the turnaround that's going to cause. Tony hit the nail on the head when you brought up Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. I mean, a lot of times with these quarterbacks, it's a crapshoot anyway. You don't truly know if they're going to pan out, so it's a gamble. I mean, that's all it is. Cam Newton is the best friend to the Carolina Panthers, man.
Big shout out to 89J Stubbs, who just contributed to the show. We appreciate that. We will keep pounding. He is paying for his time on the couch today. Joey, I want to go to this. Is that, Joey, there are a lot of negatives coming out of today. I think that we continue to say this is that the Panthers defense has just allowed a lot of points. But today, not on the defense at all. But, there's a lot of things to be worried about this team. But let's turn to the positives. Or a positive to me is if people can get their head out of their ass when it comes to Cam Newton, is I think we have seen the emergence of the football version of the triangle offense with Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and DJ Moore. Christian McCaffrey has been sensational this season. He was sensational today. How optimistic. And this, I think, is one of the big deals about this being an attractive coaching position. 2 premier offensive talents with 2 budding offensive talents in DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. The triangle offense, how do you like the McCaffrey and DJ Moore today?
McCaffrey, I mean, how much more can we say about this guy? He's more machine than man, I think. He goes out there and gives 100% every time he touches the ball. He can just do everything, and he does it he makes it look so easy when he does it. And when having played football and knowing how tough it is to do the things he's doing, particularly at his size, and making it look easy really says a lot about his athletic ability. The guy is a freak, an athletic freak. DJ Moore.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the ranks of Hunt who is now probably going out of the league for a year, probably is what I'm going to guess, is that was it Tyreek Hill or Kareem Hunt that got in trouble?
Hunt. It was Kareem Hunt.
Okay. You're talking about the likes of him. You're talking about the likes of Alvin Kamara. He's the most dynamic player. The only person I think that is just physically just head and shoulders because of his athleticism is Ty Gurley at this point. Right now, you're talking about potentially he's been the most productive, got to be one of the most productive offensive weapons in all of football.
Absolutely. His versatility is what makes him so incredibly valuable. The fact that he can run routes like a receiver. He knows where to go. His breaks and his cuts are just, he can stop on a dime and give you 9-cent change. He's that kind of good. He really is that kind of good. And then you have DJ Moore, who, honest to God, guys, he really doesn't know what he's doing yet. A lot of what he's doing is pure athleticism. Once he knows about and gets to learn about route combos and getting receivers to getting defenders to turn their hips, or in some cases, turn their backs on you. Oh my God, this guy's going to be all pro. I really think if you're a head coach, if you're a coach in the NFL and you see this offense, your mouth has to water with the possibilities because there is talent all over this team at the specialty positions.
All right, I'm about to shame some of the listeners right now. There's 62 people watching, only 8 thumbs up on this YouTube video. Come on, guys. We know you got our back. Turn your phones to portrait mode. Smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe, like, and share on Facebook. And all the people listening later on iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio, we appreciate your support and continue to consider writing us a review. We're going to keep doing this show each and every Tuesday on and off season. And we will certainly keep pounding the numbers 252-228-5098. And what I would like to add to this is that wait until, like Joey is saying, and DJ Moore is not only just understanding route combos and, like you said, Joey, getting people to turn his hips, to those DBs to turn their hips, talking about late hands, you know what I'm saying? Like the small parts of the game where you don't tip off the receiver. I can't wait until he goes from playing checkers to playing chess and he's setting DBs up throughout the game where he's studying guys and he's understanding what a DB is susceptible to. And this is where the great offensive minds and the players go throughout. Even defensive ends do this, where they set up offensive linemen and they hit them with a series of plays at the right time that exacerbates their weaknesses and capitalizes upon those moments. When DJ Moore does that, I think that he could arguably be the best receiver in football. And why I believe this is that I think the game is no longer necessarily required for you to have just a giant body to win all the time, because now defenses are so limited in what they can do. I think DJ Moore has a strong and big enough stature, but also he is that explosive type athlete that is always there to make a play. And Curtis Samuel, Cody, today, again, man, this guy, he wants to play. Yeah. He is a player, and you could go ahead and see that the Carolina Panthers want to pair him and DJ Moore as the future of this offense with McCaffrey. You're going from running the triangle offense to 4 corners, as someone said to me earlier on Twitter.
Yeah, in fact, I'm not mad at putting Curtis Samuel as an outside receiver. Put DJ on one side, Curtis on the other, and maybe even draft another slot receiver. Curtis Samuel is the real deal. That's why it has baffled us and many on Twitter as to why he hasn't gotten more snaps this season earlier in this season. Curtis Samuel is incredible, and I honestly don't think it's a stretch to say that out of every receiver on our football team right now, Curtis Samuel routinely gets the most separation, and that helps out Cam tremendously.
Yeah, it is. Is that I do want to mention this? Is that when we're going to turn it? Is that I saw that one player or this Jordan Cork on Twitter has sent me this a couple of times throughout the season, and that is the idea that something strange with Tepper allowing opposing fans in the box with him and front and center on that. I think that maybe that to me shows some of the business side of him and going, he's probably courting the big people among the Seattle, society in some ways and giving them an opportunity to have a luxury expense. But you would like to see more Carolina Panther jerseys up there. We're going to keep pounding with these calls. The number's 252-228-5098.
What's up, man?
Here we go.
Hey, Cody, Joe, if you're there. Mel, I reckon you'll be around again. I guess we're done. Season's over, fellas. But not much to say. I mean, just took a L.
Yeah.
Guess that's what we do these days. Not even mad at Cam for throwing all those picks, man. He's out there.
He's about to stoke up,
He's
brother.
trying to make plays. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
He's had a great season. He's not even 100%. That's obvious. You can tell in these throws that he's had this season. It's like once he goes past 15 yards, the ball just sails. It floats. It's weird. You don't put the same zip on it. A lot of them interceptions that was done today, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have had a prayer to catch it.
Yeah.
But, hey, it is what it is, fellas. Ron Rivera's going to be gone. Probably everybody's going to be gone. It's frustrating. I hate it. Somehow we might win a game. I don't know. Just look on to next year because we're toast. Love the Panthers. Everything about them.
But not this season.
Can't
Not this collapse.
Hey, I ain't even mad. It's disappointing to watch, but I'm not even mad.
I think is that
y'all just on the next year.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think the reason that we're not more upset at this point is because the writing was on the wall, and a lot of people were questioning the writing on the wall, saying, "Look at all these other things." In many ways, what you probably say, what Brother Herbert says that we say about Cam, right? And that is, it's there. You can see it, but you're trying to find ways to explain it away. But this collapse has been of epic proportion, and I just don't know. We saw it's the reverse of what a Ron Rivera team has gone through, and I don't believe that this is solely and entirely because of an injury problem that maybe you could have seen in the past. This is not like Cam went down. A lot of the guys are playing each and every week until today, and Greg Olsen probably saw the end of his career. So this has really been a sad sight in Carolina and a strange and bizarre one. But I do believe that the reason we're not upset, guys, is because we really had it, and we were starting to feel this is after the Pittsburgh game. We said, oh, it's a one-off, a blip. Then Detroit, it becomes a go. We're not focused enough. You're there. You make a comeback, tough game on the road. And then the writing really starts to become clear in Seattle. And today, I think it's etched in stone to a certain degree that this is full-scale collapse.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you start as hot as we did, and now we've lost 4 in a row. And listen, man, I don't even buy the argument that Pittsburgh beat it out of us. That demoralized us, and that we just haven't gotten over that. Even if they did beat us that bad, you're gonna tell me with all the veterans on this football team that we haven't been able to rebound mentally from that beating in Pittsburgh? I think it's a one game at a time type thing, and we're just not getting the job done. I don't think we're well coached. I don't think our players are playing well. I mean, it's a comedy of errors at this point in the ball game. And, I see people online, and J-Dub, I believe, even mentioned that right now we're still working with the last end of a Jerry Richardson regime here in Carolina.
Yeah.
And
you gotta
that's not
purge it. You gotta purge it.
Yeah, it's not servicing us anymore. So, I mean, I don't know. I've felt as bad as I possibly can with this Panthers team. Now, I mean, every once in a while you have people that pop in our chat room and on Twitter, and they have, "Hey, we could win out the rest of the season and be a wild card." Yeah. It's like, God bless your soul. I commend you for having the resilience, but I don't see that from this football team. I don't think that we're going to be the favorites against the Browns in Cleveland.
Yeah. Joey, I know you've got to go ahead and run. And so first I want to wish you tomorrow a happy birthday. My best friend, Joe Riolano, is getting younger each and every year and physically never falling apart. Never falling apart, Joey. Joe Riolano feeling good. Very relaxed at this moment. Happy birthday, Joe. Parting words for the show in the face of this collapse.
Well, as fans, we go through this. We have up and down. It's terrible. As Panther fans, God knows, we have good and bad years. And honestly, this started off so well. Really had high expectations, and just to see how far the mighty have fallen is sad because we have the talent, and we just can't seem to put it together. So we're going to finish out the year and start anew, and that's what's great about sports is next year could be the year, and just finish out the year, stay positive, pray no one has any significant injuries, and like the team motto says, keep pounding.
All right, Joe, man, you have a good one. We'll catch up with you on Tuesday night. It's Joe Riolano. You can follow him on Twitter at Joe Riolano. And Cody, all right, Joey, man, you have a good one, man. Have a blessed day tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Joey.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
All right, so Cody, I think this is that J-Dub has called for the firing of Marty Hurney in the chat room, and I do think that is the important and the reason I believe this is very important to go ahead and move on from Marty Hurney. Number one is it's not even that Marty Hurney has done a bad job since he's come back. He has probably been an adequate GM and some of the moves he's made. Dante Jackson, some good drafts under or a good draft under Hurney, it appears. It also appears that, Gettleman probably had his best draft when he got Curtis Samuel, Taylor Moton, and McCaffrey the year before. But he is a lingering. He is something associated with the Richardson era. So, I mean, obviously he would need to go. And I think this is the place where you start. And I think you start early, Cody, so you can bring in a GM early enough. You get the pick of the litter, and he can bring in his staff with him to help him install maybe some new supervision in the scouting department, maybe even install new scouts if that's what's required. But you do not need to piecemeal this together. And then we've got David Tepper, deep pocket David Tepper, and hiring a coach does not affect the salary cap. So David Tepper could go out there and tell this GM, get the guy you want. And don't worry if $1 million or $3 million separates us from him. We can do that. I'm talking like Nick Saban goes and wins the dang title this year. Like, you could go and get him if you had to. Like, you got the money and the goods to get whoever you want. I'm not saying we want Nick Saban. I'm just saying that, like, this is a good – you can't half-ass this, Cody, if you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and By the way, Nick Saban's not winning anything this year. That's going to be my Tigers, baby. All
Guys, I
in.
tell you, my Bulldogs can't win a dang. They can't beat Bama to save their life.
No, they sure can't. But no, and listen, in that CBS article that people are talking about David Tepper, it mentions that he's a very progressive, forward-thinking owner. And but listen, he just bought a team for how much money?
$2.5 billion.
Yeah, exactly. That man wants a return on his investment. I honestly think two of the biggest names to look out for are John DeFilippo, the offensive coordinator from Minnesota, and I would say your boy from ECU. I don't know why I have such a hard time remembering his name. The head coach of Oklahoma,
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
In fact, this is what Jordan Cork has said. He's fielded this is a controversial hypothetical, but could you watch Cam go to another team if Kyler and Lincoln were a package deal and bringing in, I guess that would be the quarterback and the head coach of Oklahoma. I'm not 100% sure. Is I will field no ideas that involve the departure of Cam Newton at this point personally. So I think what you wanted is a guy who sees that, hey, you give me Cam Newton. I always remember this is that there was a former ECU coach, another ECU coach in Steve Logan, who said, if you gave me Cam Newton, I would never complain about anything in life. Right. So I think that's what we're looking for, is someone who is a little bit more advanced in maybe forward thinking, new wave of thinking. And I'd like to point out, if you want to hear defenders of Ron Rivera, the primary defender where one fan said he must be on Ron Rivera's payroll is Darren Gant at this moment. Is Darren Gant, his wholesale came out in support of Ron Rivera being a better than mediocre coach and one that you will miss if he goes. But I'll tell you this, is that what he doesn't know is David Tepper. And I don't know David Tepper personally, but I know the type of world that he operates in. And what I would suspect is being good is not good enough. In that type of world, you want the best. Is that you think that David Tepper wants somebody managing $1 billion hedge fund with him, making suggestions to him who is good, better than average, but not the absolute best in his field or among the most highly regarded? I don't think good is good enough for David Tepper.
And you shouldn't think that he would ever settle for anything less. I mean, this man came from Wall Street, okay? Cutthroat. All right, this man wants a winner. He wants guys that are up to date on analytics. And that's one of the things that he said. He doesn't feel that our team is analytical enough, that we're almost stuck in the Stone Age in the way that we kind of do things. And I echo that sentiment. It's time for a progressive head coach for however long we're going to have Cam Newton, which I'm hoping is a long time to come. We need someone that can utilize our offense and Cam Newton to the fullest of their ability, and hopefully put someone in place to have this defense playing like the Cowboys did this past Thursday night against our division rival, the Saints.
I don't think that Dave Tepper will be consoled by, I don't think he'll be intimidated by the fear or paralyzed by the fear that it could be much worse than Ron. I think that David Tepper would be much more prefer to try to get over the hump than to just teeter on the hump for indefinitely. So I could see him saying this is that, hey, not every stock that I've bet on has been a winner. And sometimes you do make moves that lose, but by standing pat, you don't make any concerted effort to put yourself in a stronger position. And I think that this is where I've just cooled on Ron Rivera, is that it just is never going to be him being the thing that leads you to the promised land. You don't give him Cam Newton, and he would have been fired 3 years ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, if it wasn't for that 2013 season, Remember, he had back-to-back losing seasons in 2011 and 2012. And then 2013, that defense came alive, and Cam Newton really came into his own. I'll never forget that night that Cam Newton just made plays against the Patriots on Monday Night Football. I mean, listen, in my opinion, Cam Newton has been making these coaches look competent for a long time. And now you're kind of seeing when things fall apart, just who this staff really is. So, yeah, Tepper is intimidated by no one. Okay, Tepper is going to bet on himself. He's done it in the past. And he's going to do his due diligence, and he's going to go through the process and hire the best people for the job.
Josh Wicker on Facebook says some people said the same about Coach John Fox. And I'd like to point this out, is that look at where John Fox was last year in Chicago. And now look at them under Nagy or whatever he is, contending to be one of the premier teams in the league. So here is, just because you replace a head coach does not mean that we will plummet to the bottom. We're not bottom feeding, because we have real talent at the quarterback position, and then the other things can always be adjusted. Luke Kuechly is going to be good for another year, and you can make some differences there. You cannot change head coach, GM, and quarterback though and expect to jump. What you need to do is invigorate some life into this franchise with some what I want to see is guys that have a vision. And maybe that vision doesn't work out, but a guy that knows where they want to see this team, how they want to see it develop, and the attitude and the steps, and be very deliberate in that, instead of just kind of flipping a coin on everything and hoping it works out. Here's the next call, 252-228-5988.
What's up, man? I said it last week. I'm going to say it again, man. This week was a win-win for Panthers fans, because if we win, it furthers our chance.
This is Coltrane, I think.
If we lose, we still win, because it furthers Rivera's chance of getting fired. Today, to solidify Rivera's chance of getting fired. He's done. But I called because I'm actually a little bit pissed off. I'm not pissed off about us losing. I'm pissed off about these fake Panthers fans that come on Twitter and call for Cam Newton's head because he had one bad game out of the fucking 12 games we played this season. Y'all piss me off. Because if Cam Newton goes out there and goes 50 for 50 for 500 yards, and if we lose, he still blames on himself. He can have a perfect game, and he still blames on himself if we lose. When he plays a bad game, y'all never have his back. Y'all get on Twitter and y'all call for his head, and that shit pisses me off. Y'all treat that man so damn bad, and it irks the shit out of me. I'm sorry. I'm pissed off. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I didn't mean to curse, but this really irks me, man. We have the worst fan base when it comes to our quarterback, and it irks me. Like, y'all have a personal vendetta against him, and that really, really makes me mad. I want to know about his shoulder. I hope he's okay. But these damn fake Panther Twitter heads, y'all got to go. I'm sick of y'all, man. Peace. Oh, by the way, if you want to come at me, you want to tweet me, it's at Classic Coltrane. Please tweet me. I'm locked and loaded, baby. Please come at me.
All right. Classic Coltrane, at Classic Coltrane on Twitter, bringing the fire when it comes to this. And that is the dang truth. Is Cam Newton had a terrible game today, but you can buy. You want to know who stands with Cam? These guys right here on this podcast do. In fact, you can go and you know how much we made a damn T-shirt. I stand with Cam, and it's for sale on CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
Listen, man, Coltrane is my spirit animal right now. That's my spirit animal. Listen, I try not to be too confrontational, but it's my sentiments exactly, man. Where are y'all at when Cam Newton has a bad game, when he's done nothing but carry this franchise from the moment that he got here, from the moment that he arrived, and now everyone wants to jump ship when he has a bad game? I'm sorry, man, that's a fake-ass fan. Quarterbacks have bad games, and you had a bad game. That's it.
That here, Bobby James says this caller is fire. Go caller, go, says J-Dub. And Daniel K087 says he went all smoke. Carius Lothar, my man, speaking facts. people are pretty excited that Classic Coltrane came to the rescue there to pick you up. And I want to point this out to you, is that Ron Rivera still has a job because of Cam Newton. Mike Shula had a job for so many years because of Cam Newton. You guys thought that Rod Shazinski was a dang offensive genius because of Cam Newton. Cam Newton gives you this, is while he may not be the most consistent at times, or in the past a consistent passer, he's missed some layups at times. And this year, I think he's really, truly proven that otherwise. Is I feel like this is when Cam Newton is healthy and even not healthy. He's the strongest man in the NFL. He has not missed but like 3 games in his whole damn career, I feel like. The point that I'm trying to get to is this, is Cam Newton always gives you a chance. It's like that moment in Dumb and Dumber when he goes, so what are my chances? 1 in a million, 1 in a billion? And she got more like 1 in a billion. And he goes, so you're telling me there's a chance. That is the truth, is Cam Newton is, and for you guys, is that before Cam Newton was a part of it, I have never felt like the Panthers have been irrelevant since Cam Newton has come to town. And I believe that him and Rivera came together, and it never felt like this is irrelevant. That's because of Ron Rivera. I have always and wholly 100% said Cam Newton, he's something, he's the guy. He is the one guy that is the best. I don't know. I can't even deal with it, Cody. I feel you. Classic culture. He's a hero.
He's a hero, man. And I'm telling you, listen, to the people that say they want to move on from Cam Newton, I'm telling you, you're not ready for that. You are not ready for that. And that means you don't know what Cam truly has provided to this offense, from throwing to receivers over the years that don't make separation, big body receivers that barely run a route, to having to be the leading rusher on the football team and play quarterback. Come on, man. Subpar offensive line play. Listen, you can only make so many miracles, and Cam Newton makes a lot of them. And then when he doesn't come through and he has a bad game, people just ditch him. Man, that's not a fan. That's absolutely not a fan.
All right, the number's 252-228-5098. We've got 2 more calls. Thank you, Carl D., for powering the C3 Panthers podcast with your donation. It is not in vain. We will uplift. We will keep going with this show no matter what. Even if nobody listens, I will get on the internet and talk about the damn Panthers. But it turns out a lot of people are listening. Over 60 people are viewing our post-game show each and every week. We want all 61 of you to turn your phones to portrait mode and smash the thumbs up button. We're at 22 likes now. Let's get it to 40 before the end of the show. We've got 2 calls to do it on Facebook, Twitter. Support us. Support the podcast, because you know what? We've been here when the team hasn't been good. We've been here when the team is great, and we will continue to be the most interactive Panthers podcast that you can find, and the most consistent. 252-228-5098.
Hey there. David Tepper is getting antsy. I read this on the CBS Sportsline report that David Tepper is getting antsy about his team, about the lack of analytics, about the lack of modernization that the Panthers as an organization are behind the times, that they seem to be too old-fashioned. And I think right now is a good time just to clean house, get rid of Rivera, get rid of Hurney, you start over, you modernize, and you build a new team, because I just don't think that the combination of Hurney and Rivera and Cam Newton are going to be able to get it done. It just can't happen. They are just not Super Bowl caliber. And thank you. Enjoy the podcast. Bye-bye.
Here is where that your call makes all the sense in the world, is that we don't even have to think. We've seen Marty Hurney got fired with Ron Rivera and Cam Newton as part of his original tenure. He's back for a second round. So, hey, thank God that we did have Marty Hurney in that tumultuous moment where we fire our GM 3 days before. the training camp starts. But to add to that, even in fairness to Dave Gettleman, he came in here and he and Ron Rivera had a good enough season in that original year where there was no ability for him to say that I want to put in a new direction and my vision for the future. So we've seen what Marty Herney and Ron Rivera can do. We've seen it twice now. Now, we've also seen what happens when you don't fully commit to a change, but when you half-ass it in fear of missing out and going forward. And so I think that, like one of the callers said earlier in the show, like a lot of comments have been in the chat room, is this type of collapse may be a good thing because it really puts those things in the forefront, in the spotlight, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're losing, look, that's the one thing that you can say about losing. And we had a caller a few calls back that kind of said it, man. And even Coltrane kind of said, there's nothing to be mad about because it's times like these when you're able to look at your team under a microscope and look at the real problems that you have on the team. And yeah, it sucks because we were so optimistic at the start of the season. But now we're just rummaging through what we're seeing what we can salvage, if anything at all. And listen, you're not going to be able to fix the problems on the football team unless you know what those problems are. We know that we don't have a routine pass rush that gets home frequently enough. We know that our offensive line could be a lot better. I don't care what anyone says. It could be a lot better. And we still need to build up a few pieces on this football team. Think how many close football games we've been in. I mean, we're not getting blown out. We had one game this season where we were blown out, and that was Pittsburgh. We're not very far from being a team that's winning these football games. Even some of the games that we have won, they've been close. We just have to find a way to push it over the edge. I want a brand new general manager. I want a brand new head coach. And yeah, man, we're not far. We just have to do some more things better. And if we can stomach this season, hopefully those times they're not too far away, man.
Big Chief TP coming in strong, supporting the podcast. You guys are the best, he says. Makes bad seasons bearable. Looking forward to whatever changes are coming. See here,
Thank you, man.
You know what I love about this comment too is look forward to whatever changes are coming. Because some people are saying everybody is so quick to turn and say call for someone's job. I call it internet lynching in this day and era. And that is what Darren Gant is also saying. And when he's going to bat for Ron Rivera, Eric Washington. But here is that what we have to do is not be afraid. We have not be afraid because our fandom will be there. Like, that's the thing. The good news, guys, is it doesn't matter if the Panthers are 1-15. You've seen it. Right? You've seen the Panthers go 15-1, and you were still fans then, and we will still be fans next year if Ron Rivera is the head coach and Marty Herney is the GM, and we will still be fans if we have something new that doesn't work out, and we will be really happy fans if we go new and it works out. So the good news is that sometimes I just felt like we have lingered in purgatory when it comes to Ron Rivera. And prior to 2015, I thought that we were giving too quick to dump on him at times, and that he had shown that he could keep a locker room together through thick and thin. But I saw last week, after last week's loss, Steve Reed from the Associated Press said that there was a real losing look and vibe to the Panthers in the locker room. So even the strengths, this is what I'm going to say about Ron Rivera, is that what have his strengths been as a coach? His strengths have been, hey, he's got a good tenure in the league. He's been around for a long time. He's a football guy. He's a player's coach. He knows how to resonate with those guys. And the most important is that he keeps a steady ship, one where we don't panic. But
there are also real weaknesses to Ron Rivera, what we've seen from personnel issues to a continued inability to be flexible throughout the season. And that last, I would say, is that Ron Rivera at this point has started to lose what the strengths of him were, are no longer even working. And that being is that it looks like this team is falling apart late rather than getting stronger. In fact, it doesn't look like it. They are. And second, he's not falling on the sword for his players anymore, Cody. At this point, he's in self-preservation mode for the last 2 years, I feel like. And at this point, he's going to fall on the sword for real.
Yeah, and he should. And it really does upset me when he doesn't fall on the sword more, when he doesn't put as much blame on the coaching staff. And when he says the missed opportunities line and the same answers over and over, oh, we did some things well, but we left some plays on the field. Well, yeah, tell us why, Ron. Tell us why that is. Tell us a little bit more. I mean, don't piss on our leg and tell us that it's raining. Tell us what's actually going on. If you're not going to do that, then being a player's coach isn't enough anymore, because it's apparent to me that these players, I mean, I'm not going to say that they're not giving their full effort, but it doesn't feel like they want to go out and just beat the hell out of the opponent for Ron Rivera. You should want to go out there and dominate for your head coach and for the players next to you. And Ron Rivera hasn't been instilling that kind of confidence in anybody. So, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Tony.
The number is 252-228-5098. This is the last call of the show today. You can have your opportunity. And look, just because you didn't get in today, you can call in between now and Tuesday. We'll be here live 9 p.m. every Tuesday, 52 times a year. We haven't missed one in 5 seasons, right? And this will be I think this is our 5th full season. I can't even keep up. But it's fun. We're going to be here no matter what. We want you to be here with us on Tuesday night. So go ahead and smash that thumbs up button to show you appreciate the show. Thanks to everybody who has been a part of the chat. Here's our last call of the day.
Hey, it's your boy Chris, aka Panthers fan on YouTube. Today I think was the nail in the coffin in Ron Rivera's tenure here. I think it's clear that the team has given up on him. And I think that they should let the season play out and then let him go and just get an offensive coach. Maybe call a guy like Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, or maybe a guy like Matt Campbell from Iowa State. Just get something to revitalize the franchise. Keep up the great work, guys, and keep pounding.
You know what? The good thing is that here is what I feel like maybe could be a scary for a defensive head coach is getting an offensive coordinator who really is too brilliant, either A, to take your position, steal the limelight from you, or that your success leaves quickly when he leaves. But the good news about getting a young offensive coach is that there are a lot of old hats defensively, and this is what I think the Sean McVay model is. The young, excitable coach had to lead the ship, to inject excitement into that. But then you bring in Wade Phillips, who is the old, seasoned, grizzled guy who doesn't panic. And if you bring in a young coach, I think it's important for him to surround himself with the right staff. And that is an opportunity. I am cautious, though, about what Lincoln Riley will do in the NFL. I'm a big Lincoln Riley fan because he was at East Carolina and he coached us up into some tremendous offenses. I do wonder what would be in it for him leaving Oklahoma. He could be a god there if he continues to do what he's doing. But boy, it would be a lot more attractive to go to Carolina than it would go to Cleveland, I say.
Oh, absolutely. And the only reason they even mentioned him to Cleveland is because of Baker Mayfield and what they were able to do together there. But I don't know, man. Just imagine what he would be able to do with someone like Cam Newton in our offense. I don't know. I would love that pick. I've been able to watch more of Oklahoma recently since the playoffs are coming. All these games are on TV. And he runs a tight ship, Tony. They had a good one over there at ECU. But and then another name I'm hearing is the guy from Iowa. I don't know anything about him, Matt Campbell
We'll have
is
to
his
get
name.
J Dub. We'll have to get J Dub. He's our Midwesterner aficionado.
Yeah, J Dub, drop some Matt Campbell knowledge. But yeah,
and the cat calls.
Yeah, but if you notice, even people that have been Ron Rivera defenders, now everyone sees the writing on the wall. Everyone in the chat room, most of our followers on Twitter or Facebook, everyone knows what it is at this point. And, right now it's apparent Greg Olson is never going to have a Super Bowl with the Panthers. Neither is Thomas Davis. Neither is Ryan Khalil. There have been some great players that are never going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy ever in their career, especially as a Panther. So now what I think is our duty, our obligation to do is all the players on the team right now that are still good, they're still in their prime, we absolutely have to do right by them and bring in the players and the front office people to put them in the best position to win football games. We have to do it.
All right. Big shout out to Brian Wells. Thank you for supporting the podcast with your super chat donation. We really appreciate that. That's going to help continue this podcast and defray the cost of the website and things. We appreciate all your support. Like, subscribe, share. That is the motto. We need to build Panther Nation. Now, I actually was contacted, Cody, by an advertisement company that kind of sells ads for podcasts. And we were talking about some of the things when it comes to Carolina Panthers podcasts out there. And he said the challenge for this team is that as an expansion franchise, the legacy of the fan base is just smaller than other markets, not only because other markets are in big TV markets and there's millions of people in those cities, but also because of the legacy of the Carolina Panthers. And what I do think we can do is continue to make that a distant memory of the past by, even in times of struggle like now and in times of success, that we continue to grow Panther Nation together. And I think we're doing it here today. I think the people in the chat room are doing it, Cody. And I appreciate your help in making this show great again.
I see what you did there, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, Charlotte is a city on the rise. The NFC South is a marquee division in football. We've been one of the better divisions, if not the best, the past few years. We have the talent. We have the players. We do have a lot of things going for us right now. Green Bay, I mean, they have a history that we don't have yet, but that's another small market that a ton of people would definitely want to go to. And that's another thing too. And I'm glad that it led me to this train of thought thing. It's looking like Mike McCarthy is also going to be out in Green Bay. So now it's looking potentially like the Green Bay Packers and the Carolina Panthers are going to have a vacant head coaching position. So if we want the guy that we want to have, if we want the best of the best, we might have to get moving a little earlier than maybe even the Packers are. So that's another thing that leads me to believe that Ron Rivera, he might be out even before the season's up.
All right, that's the C3 Panthers postgame show. We'll see you Tuesday night. Remember, the number's 252-228-5098. And while it feels bad right now, remember, always keep pounding.
Always.